Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Super Soldier Talk. Some people have been commenting, James, you look like you're younger. Um, I'm not going to make a comment about that, but I just tell people this. Never mind. This is a stupid topic. Let's move on. I'm not a clone, so somebody's been throwing that out there. Well, maybe I am, but it doesn't matter. It's the same person in me. Okay? Like I said, let's go back to the main featured presentation. We have Jimmy Paine here with us today. Super Soldier Agent Jimmy Paine, also known aka Dallas, was in the secret space program from 1959 to 1996. During this time, he was a shuttlecraft pilot for the Tall White Warriors at Area 51 and participated in time travel missions with the Montauk Boys at Camp Hero. He also recalls working with the Weyland Corporation, where he encountered a xenomorph at LV-426, which the movie Aliens was based off of. And he was also, in the movie Aliens, that was Captain Dallas, and that was Jimmy Paine. So he was stationed on Mars, Titan, the moon. On Mars, he's seen a broken statue, the giant face of a humanoid, on a mission in 1974 along with Duncan O'Finoian. He remembers seeing the Tommyknockers in a cave on Mars, which is a muscular type of tall grays. On the moon of Titan, he was stationed at a massive underground base. He was tasked with fighting a monster they called It. It looked like the junior Montauk monster, a type of Bigfoot monster that would gain strength by attacking it. He was also on a secret mission from Vandenberg Air Force Base, the Apollo 20 mission, with William Rutledge, where they discovered an oriental-looking humanoid named E.B. Mona Lisa. Jimmy claims the Apollo 20 footage on YouTube is real. He also, I didn't put this in his bio, I don't know if he sure wanted to take credit for it, but he knew who the assassin was for JFK. The guy had an invisibility belt, and so I pressed the button. Oh, he also, I don't know if you want to talk about Chernobyl, but yeah, so there's a lot of things going on. Jimmy, why don't you go ahead and chime in? Did I say too much already, or should we just move on? Jimmy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, James. Yeah, it's good to be back.
All right. Thank you for coming back here. So, where should we even bring this conversation here? Oh, by the way, thank you, listeners who are joining us the chat. So yeah, we are back on the main channel, and I've already told Jimmy the words that he's not allowed to say, but we are going to be discussing the fracturing or the balkanization or the what we call the splintering of the United States of America after the collapse of the U.S. dollar. So, Jimmy, can you tell us why are you even qualified to even comment about this? What are your qualifications? Go ahead.
Well, I hyper-threaded inside and out between Area 51 and Montauk, that is Camp Hero up in New York, Long Island, New York. And I've been with the program ever since I was a child. I was raised out of Area 51. So I've done a lot of time traveling all my life. I have yet to see another person has as much time in it that I do.
All right, so maybe we can discuss the type of technology, for instance, the side effects, I guess, from time travel. You mentioned something that it can be potentially dangerous for people that have done this, right?
Yeah, a lot of the reason why a lot of these dates are inaccurate. You have people who claim to have time jumped, and they'll give a date, and the date comes and goes. Well, what happens is when we time jump, the radio frequencies, it can make your brain swell. Okay, and when you have that much swelling going on, you'll have a little bit of temporary amnesia. But as the days goes by, you'll start to recall more. So that's it has health. Has some downsides to it, but that's one of the downsides.
Can you tell people the story about the man that had the invisibility belt on? That he got caught but they couldn't see him, but they knew he was in a room, and they locked him in there because there's a limit of how long the technology can be used. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the what happened at Texas School Book Depository when
I
Jeff
think
Study?
I don't know. It's, I think it might have been another event, but maybe you can. Why don't you go ahead and tell people what happened at the Texas School Book Depository?
Yeah, I was there in the room when Lee Harvey Oswald shot the three blanks. Um, there was a second shooter there in the room with him, and what he was trying to do, he was trying to bring the snipers out, and the other man is the one that actually pulled, shot at the president. Um, but there, he had an invisibility belt they had on. He could flip it, and you couldn't see him. That's how I knew about it.
Right. So the cop came up the staircase, and the guy turned on his visibility belt and walked right past the cop, the assassin. And
Well, the cop saw a little boy coming down the stairs. They don't pay too much attention to a child, but his attention was towards going towards an adult or where the sound came from. But I did meet one of the policemen as they were going up the stairs, but he didn't pay me any attention because I was very young at the time.
so why do you think they took JFK out?
He was about to go public, letting them know that we have visitors at Area 51. And he just, like I said, they knew that if he had stayed in office, that we would have had a war. So he had to be taken out. You know, he had to be taken out.
All right, all right. So was he spilling the beans with Marilyn Monroe, or is that not confirmed? That, or is it confirmed with I guess they were having a fling.
Marilyn Monroe was a presidential model, but I don't want to get too far into that. I want to get back on
Sorry.
what goes on.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us what year in the future you went to, and how and where. So I'm assuming that's where you got this information on. You've been into our future. So tell us what year you were and what did you see?
Well, James, I've been many times into the future and many times into the past. I've been as far as 630 AD. I've been so many different timelines. It's unbelievable. I've been to alternative timelines. If you've ever watched the movie Planet of the Apes, I'm in one of those movies. I was on a space station, the Orbiton, and had to go down and get one of my chimps, and end up meeting a humanoid chimpanzee by the name of General Thage. I ended up locking him in the old spacecraft, but I don't want to get off on alternative timelines. I'm just letting you know.
So you're saying the movie Planet of the Apes is a documentary, essentially?
Well, there's some there. No, it's not a documentary. What they did was they took some of that information and they spin it off into these movies as a soft disclosure. The movie is not a documentary. There's a lot of things in the movie that didn't happen, but the part about the apes, intelligent apes, that's true. So we have alternative timelines, and we also have alternative dimensions. You can move forward in time, you can move back in time, you can move sideways in time.
All right. So describe what the for people that have not seen your previous shows. So describe what the actual time travel device looked like that you utilized.
Well, there's several different types. There's a portable device, a mobile device, um, and then there's a stationary device. It just depends on where you're doing a time jump at. Um, the one that I'm more familiar with is well, the one I first started out with was on the Eldritch. Um, so, and there's some that are looks like a bag phone, you can use, and I have seen them down to the size of a like you have a set of car keys and you want to lock and unlock your car. I have seen some as small as that, but I believe those are alien. What the tall grays use mostly. So it can be man-made or it can be alien-made.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if you're familiar with John Titor, but there's some pictures on the internet. This so-called time travel device that used two wormholes, black skulls, or whatever. The formula.
I knew John.
Oh, well, so John, that's all. That's real. That's not some internet hoax.
That he's real. I worked with John out when I was at Montauk. He's a nice guy. He lives down in Florida. He would be, I think he was born around 1997. So he's alive now and he's in hiding. He's scared. He knows what's going down. And so, we can't, I can't interfere with the current timeline. I can talk back and forth with you. But this timeline is not going to end very well. And we're very, very near the end of it. We're going to see the fracturing of the United States not long from now. And it's not going to be, it's not the end of the world, people. It is not the end of the world. But a lot of you are going to die. A lot of people who are listening to this are not going to make it. Some will. But
okay, well, but Jimmy, I mean, I'm guessing you're referring to the nuclear radiological events. So, how do you know that that version of the future is our timeline or an alternate reality timeline?
well, because I've been there with John. Me and John have did the time jumps. If you ever watch the movie Terminator, um, the intelligence report was turned over. Of course, they changed the names around, and it's kind of like you're asking for a Freedom of Information report, and you get it, and a lot of it's blacked out. But you give it to a writer or a movie producer, and then they kind of fill in the blank spots. You know what I mean? So some of it is real, a lot of it's made up, but that's a soft disclosure.
Wait. So you're saying that the Terminator is real? Skynet has been sent back in time, kind of scenario.
Yes, it's real, but now the Terminator, the one that pours, is not real. Um,
The
that
one that had that liquid metal. The
yeah,
cop was liquid metal. Yeah.
that was what happened on that. Linda Hamilton, the actress, she's married to James Cameron, the movie producer, and Linda uh, picked up uh, the intelligence report. Of course, it was blacked out. She couldn't see the parts that were blacked out, but she did a little LSD during that time, and she dreamed the part of the liquid pouring Terminator. But I knew Linda. I know the woman personally, and I've been around James Cameron. Of course, I don't know James that well, but now James is kin to Alexander James Cameron on the Eldritch. So I've been on the Eldritch, the teleportation, the ship. I believe that to be his great nephew, the movie producer James Cameron.
All right. Well, I'm highly fascinated with the Terminator timeline, but we need to stay focused. I hope the audience members are okay with that. We just go stay on topic to do what's on hand here about the fracturing of the United States. So tell us, I'm guessing you went to the future. What year in the future did you go to where you got the data of what happened now? I'm assuming, was it like way in the future that when you're talking about the colonial marines, or are we talking about like maybe a 2040s or something? When in the aftermath of all this collapse?
I believe that, going back and trying to recollect what the closest to the timeline was, I was out of Socorro, New Mexico, and where they have the telescopes, the satellites, and we hooked up a computer to one of the telescopes, and once we fired up the computer, we had we opened up a alternative timeline, and I actually looked. It was a lot of helicopters flying overhead, futuristic helicopters, and there was a battle going on, and with Terminators running around, and I was there with John, and I actually looked to the west when they dropped the bomb, and that was when Los Angeles got wiped off the map. Now that is not very far from now. Um, I'm just trying. I'm trying to tie it down. I think we're probably about 3 years out, maybe 4 years out. It's a little hard to tie it to one particular year, but we're very close.
Okay, so I'm guessing you used a chronovisor type technology, because I know you said you worked for Father and Renti, correct, at the Vatican with the
Well,
chronovisor.
well, I have, but that was a different. That's completely different from what we were doing. We had basically hooked up uh, a computer to the satellite dish, and it did the same thing like at Montauk with the radar tower. We were able to open up another timeline. Um, that's what I'm talking about there.
So so you're able to confirm that this looking glass, whatever it is you're doing, technology is our timeline and not an alternate timeline? Are you sure?
I believe we have two timelines overlapping one another. Um, we're getting close to where the two lines come together, okay? And what is, you know, the United States military has a lot of neat stuff, a lot of neat um, equipment they're not talking about. But that military gets decimated, okay? Uh, they're not going to win the war. The United States will be dissolved. A lot of the population will be killed off, and there's going to be a lot of starvation. There's going to be cannibalism in pockets of the country. Um, you're going to have people fighting over the food, okay? Um, so the United States believes it can win this war with China. It's not going to win it. I know for a fact that on the aircraft carrier that the Chinese have in service right now, they have 4 psychics on that aircraft carrier, and they have hypersonic missiles. Um, so the United States is not going to win. I don't care what general up in the Pentagon says. It's all bull. In fact, they're going to rape the American soldiers that survive. They're going to rape them. out of a 200 million man Chinese army, you have at least 1 million men that are gay. They can't find wives. They ain't got enough women over there. So what's going to happen is those 1 million gay Chinese are going to rape every one of the American soldiers. That's why they're pushing all this woke gay stuff on the American military. Okay? That's why they're doing it. And if they keep you alive, they're particularly if you're a male, they're going to castrate you to keep you from reproducing. Okay, they're going to look for kind of like slave labor. So they want the fields for food, the farmland. They want the farmland for food. They're going to reduce the population of the United States. Now that is how they're going to do it. And look, you don't need to have a whole lot of missiles. The only thing you got to do is put a nuke in a cargo container and float it in the port of Los Angeles and take out all the cranes. Okay, that's all they have to do.
All right, so let's discuss. Let's go from the current time into the future. So what are some of the triggers on the timeline that you see happening, the main events? What are so yeah, maybe like what, the collapse of the dollar, or is there something else, or is there a bunch of things? Go ahead.
Well, that's a good question, James. The dollar will collapse. It's just a matter of time when it collapses. And you have to remember everything's imported. And in times of war, they're not going to let cargo ships come on in those ports. Okay. So we're not going to be able to have any importing coming into the country. Now, the electrical grid system is not hardened. In other words, one EMP would take out the electrical grid. A lot of the refrigeration plants where we have food that's chilled is going to spoil. The interstate highway system is going to be damaged in such a way that the bridges and everything, we're not going to be able to move transports around. And the only other way to move things would be by water. Now, you block the Mississippi River, you mine the Mississippi River. You're not going to nobody's going to go in there, you see. So we got that going on. We also have a real issue going on up in Canada with the tar fields. I do know that a missile hits the tar fields, get them burning, and you have black radioactive oil that gets into the stratosphere. And it clogs up a lot of face masks that these soldiers are going to be wearing. Oil clogs up the filters, the respirator filters. So your mask is useless. Okay.
Yeah, hold on, Jimmy. So what Jimmy just said is that there might be a nuclear event in the oil fields of Canada, which will ignite it all and clog all the air filters to remove radioactivity. So basically, just everybody gets fucked. So before you go into the radiological thing, can we discuss more of other triggers in the timeline? For instance, so the dollar collapses because of the BRIC nations are not using the dollar, correct? Yes.
Correct.
Yes. So so after the collapse of the dollar, the first thing people are going to notice is the stores are going to just totally be emptied out, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Trade. Okay, so stores, but there's still going to be groceries, right? For a while. You still buy food.
No food.
Why? Why is there no food?
Well, you have to have fuel to run the tractors to plow the fields. Then you have to have an interstate highway system to distribute the food. So the cities, if you're in a city, There's no way to get food into the cities. Okay. Um, the United States military, it will not be capable of fighting 200 million man army. That's how many are coming. The Chinese are coming. And then you have other countries that are invading. You have the North Koreans. They'll be coming in. They've been promised Washington State. Why Washington State, I don't know. The Cubans will be coming in through the Mississippi Valley. They end up with Florida. Russia ends up with the entire, most of the East Coast United States, and China gets most of. Well, I know they get Nevada and California. They get most of the Western United States. So it's shattered up. There's no more United States. Now there is a United America, but that's 5 super states that are formed. But see, nobody wins a nuclear war. Even the Chinese are starving. Okay, this is when it gets up in the stratosphere, it affects the weather, the crops worldwide. It's a curling of the human race.
All right. Okay. Wow. All right. So, what are so you mentioned 5 super states. Could you tell us what these super states regions and what are these regions? Where are they located?
If you look at the United States right now, instead of having 50 states, you have 5 super states, and each state is regional. There's no more central government. Okay, Washington is completely wiped out. All the politicians are dead, and the people try to rebuild, but they live very primitive, like you did before there was electricity. You know, you had a horse, or you use a sailboat. You'll get up at sunrise and you'll go to the field and you'll work all day long in that field, 7 days a week, from sun up to sundown. It's a very hard life. And if you break a leg, there'll be you have a local doctor, he will set it. But if you need pins in your leg, you're not going to get it. Okay. It's real crude, like you had back in 1800s. And there'll be a shortage of medicine. So only the fittest will survive it.
Oh wow. Okay. So you're saying eventually the Chinese will get repelled. A great loss to you.
Well, they don't get repelled. What happens is it's a curling of the human race. There are no winners in this war. The population gets reduced down to about, I want to say 147 million worldwide, but it builds back up to about 500 million. The Georgia Guidestones, when they were put up, I was there doing security for the dedication. So all that was put on to the Guidestones before they foolishly were blown up by some idiot.
All right. So okay, let's go back before we get to nuclear war. So the next trigger will be the collapse of the dollar. Do you have any information on what that will be like? Will that be like a slow, gradual decline over a 3-year period, or will it be immediate? Like one day you wake up and you find out your money's worthless.
It's going to come in phases, James. First, there'll be social unrest in the Southwest. We're seeing it now with immigration, okay? And then when these world powers get to fighting, it's just not the United States that are in trouble. It spreads worldwide.
Okay. So, after the collapse of the U.S. dollar, okay. So, what happens next? I guess the federal government totally falls apart. Like nobody respects it anymore. There's no military because nobody's paying them.
Well, well, it's like this. People get real religious in the future. Okay, they go around and they say, why me? Why did this happen? And they're very mad at the United States government. But there's no United States government because the ones that do survive it are hunted down and killed. Okay, you got the Chinese wanting to hunt them down and kill them. You have your own fellow Americans ready to hunt them down. And they have this belief that they can go into underground base and everything's going to be fine. Well, it's not going to be fine. I've been down in those underground bases. My friend Phil Snyder, before he was murdered, I've been down in there with him. It's just real sad, but there's a way to get out of this. And it goes back to me. It looks like I'm going to have to go back to Nellis Air Force Base and meet with the visitors and talk with them. But they're not the ones that caused this. I believe that something could be worked out, but the United States government is a false government. It was created at Montauk. We had guys that were going back in time, giving Abraham Lincoln the Gettysburg Address. That Gettysburg Address was wrote out at Camp Hero as a campaign speech for Lincoln. So the timeline's been changed. Right now, as you get to a stable timeline, and that would probably mean someone going back and correcting the error.
All right. Well, correcting the error, all that does is just creates an alternate reality. It doesn't really help us here, right?
What it does, you'll see the United States flag fade and another flag take its place. You would still be there. You would know the difference, but only you would know it. It's kind of like the Bernstein event, well, the Nelson Mandela event is what I'm trying to say. People have memories, but they would just be some vague memories.
Do you remember Tank Boy being run over at Tiananmen Square? I think it's 89.
James, I remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they call it. Now that timeline was tampered with, and they altered it. I remember when I did the jump on the Titanic, the Titanic sister ship, the Olympic. Titanic never sunk. It was the Olympic that sunk.
And you went in there to steal the gemstone.
Yeah.
The Hope Diamond?
Yeah. Yeah, the Hope Diamond. Yeah, a correction there. What had happened, the Titanic's sister ship was repainted to look like the Titanic. And that's why you have the people running around now, the Titanic conspiracists, one ship had gray primer, one ship had black primer. And so we changed the ships around, and we also looted the safes and got the money, the gold and the Hope Diamond out as well.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So actually, Jimmy has talked about the Titanic thing in a previous video, but let's go back to actually the collapse again. Okay, so going back to my question, so when the United States dollar implodes, so I guess the federal workers are not going to get paid, and I guess the military is not going to get paid, correct?
Correct.
So what happens? What happens to all these military bases? Do they just like sell their tanks and something to pay the soldiers, or what?
It all falls apart. I mean, it's people. You have to eat. Okay, if there's no food, how can you fight? All right, and you have to be able to transport the food. Okay, so you know, if you're in the military and all of a sudden your hometown gets nuked, what do you think that's going to do to the morale of
Okay,
the?
but hold on, Jimmy. We haven't got to that yet because how about we just go to that right now? Let's discuss what actually triggers this war because the United States is already falling apart. The military bases, I guess, are being vacated because soldiers are not being fed, and I guess they just go home with to their families. And the Chinese are coming in, I guess, at this point, or
Yes,
okay.
yes,
So
they're fighting over the food. It's
so
not it's not that the Chinese are fighting for China, and it's not that the United States soldiers are fighting for the United States. They're fighting over the food at that point.
is it because the Three Gorges Dam finally implodes and floods out, like I guess kills maybe 200 million people in China?
It's
Possibly.
it's worldwide when these missiles go to
Okay.
fire.
Yeah, but who does it first? Because the military bases are vacated. Who has control of the stockpiles in the U.S.? And do they take the first blow? I mean, shot.
All I know is that I had um, a, a, I shot one of the missiles down over the United States. The second missile got past me and went up into Canada and hit the tar sands. And once the tar sands get to burning, there's no way to put it out. It's an endless amount of tar sands, and radioactive uh, oil gets up in the stratosphere, and it gets over everything. It affects the land, the seas, everything. You can't put it out.
So that missile is probably Chinese or Russian.
I would imagine that is probably I believe it to be North Korean, but then I can't say for sure. I believe that the first two missiles that were shot were EMPs.
Oh wow. So they take out the electrical grid, and that
They
damages our ability to defend ourselves.
they take out their electrical, and then there's other missiles that are coming in. Okay, they're going very fast, so they're probably hypersonic missiles. We don't have hypersonic missiles, and even if we did, we don't have them in enough quantities to counter what's coming in.
Wow. Okay. But you really don't know who does the first strike or what it's about, probably.
I know that the two superpowers are involved, China and Russia, along with North Korea. I believe they're going to use North Korea as a diversion so they can, get the other missiles up from other silos located outside of North Korea.
Okay. And so they're waiting for the U.S. dollar to collapse to make this strike because I guess they want us to be weak before they can fight us.
I believe so, James. It seems to go back. The Chinese president lately has been has been brokering peace deals between different countries. That's something I've never seen to just recently. And so he's projecting world might. He's able to get around and negotiate. And but when our United States dollar fails, who's wanting to trade with us? And we have this deal going around about this woke army. It looks bad. It looks very bad. And then you have the NASA's gone woke. The first black astronaut is going to say he's going to get on the moon. He's got a speech prepared, and he's going to talk about Whitey. So it's turned racial from NASA's point of view, which is sad.
So they're going to do another moon landing soon, is what you're.
Yeah. The black astronaut's got some racial statements to make when he gets onto the moon, and which is sad, but he's bringing racism or whatever his cause is.
Meanwhile, the Germans have been there since the 1930s.
We made it to the moon around 1944, but it's not widely known. In fact, von Braun, most of the engines on the at NASA are the same engines that von Braun built when he came over. So it's been nothing new built at NASA, but it has gone woke, is what I'm saying.
All right, so let's just say I don't know, for whatever chance, maybe there's a military general watching this, or maybe somebody under them that say, oh, well, let's just forward this up to command. Jimmy, what can be done to change the timeline? I mean, do we even, what do you think? What can we do to stop all this?
Well, first, I want to say this. I don't want to be experimented on. And if I was to return to Nellis Air Force Base, or Creech Air Force Base, or Holloman Air Force Base, whatever it be, I want to be able to not listen to your officers there. I don't disrespect them, but your military is going to the dustbin. It's over at this point. And every one of you, including your generals, including your Joint Chiefs of Staff, will be raped. You're going to be raped. And the ones of you that they're going to keep, you're going to lose your testicles. This has been done in China for hundreds of years. They castrate their servants. Okay? And you have to accept the fact that the United States is going to the dustbin. There will be a United America. It would be 5 super states. All right. If you want to stay alive, you need to let me come back to Area 51, and you need to drop all your silliness, okay? And I need to get with your visitors and try to get them to take the cookie off of the computer at Camp Hero. That means taking a time jump back, because at Camp Hero they started tinkering with the timeline, and they did successfully do it. But all things come to an end, and this is coming to an end, and it's not going to be favorable to you or any of your loved ones.
So this reality is like Grand Theft Auto, and so we're not even supposed to exist according to the ET, because of what happened at Montauk. Things got switched, so we're just a big experiment to them. So they probably don't want to even bother trying to help us, because they want to see how the experiment ends, right? I guess.
Correct. That's why they have not made contact. Everyone who is listening to this, to me speaking, you are a test subject. They are observing the timeline. The timeline is corrupt, and it is coming to an end. And just like the Mandela effect, if I went back and changed things, some of you would have memories, but you wouldn't really know. You would just be living. You just wake up one morning and everything would be different in your lives, and this will all be behind you.
Right. Okay. So, what actually happens to the seat of power? Does Mr. T come back, or is Mr. B? Does something happen to him? Do you know?
I don't. You've lost me there. What?
I can't say their names because of YouTube.
Okay.
President T.
Um,
What happens to these people? Go ahead.
Neither one of them. There's no United States government. It goes back to what it was prior to the tampering. There will not be a United States government. It goes back to what it was before it was tampered with. You are an American. You need to be proud of being an American, but your timeline has been altered. It's been tinkered with, and it's just going to get worse. This does not end well for anyone. That's why it has to be altered to go back and reset the timeline, and then maybe the aliens, for some of y'all who want to communicate with them, maybe they will talk to you then, but they're not going to talk to you now because you all are test subjects. You're living in a alternative reality.
So, what would be like the safest places in the United States to, I don't know, somehow regroup? Maybe you're part of a military campaign. Say, well, maybe we can put some of our troops over here. What do you think? Is there any place safe?
All I can tell you is not to be in a big city. All I can tell you, don't be next to a military target, a nuclear power plant, any of that. But you have to remember you have damaged nuclear power plants, you have burning oil in the stratosphere. There's really not, some people will survive, but it's very few. It's going to be a curling of the Earth's population.
So you need property out in the country, I guess, and obviously far away enough so your greenhouses don't get shattered by the radiation or the nuclear weapons, right?
Some people, yes, you're correct. Some people will survive, but there won't be. We're talking maybe 147 million worldwide. It gets down to 147 million, then it stabilizes, and then it slowly builds back up to around 500 million, but it never gets above 500 million. We have too many people right now.
Well, I mean, they could just open up a portal to the multiverse, and you don't have to kill them. We could just send them off in the universe somewhere.
James, you have to have a lot of power to open up a portal. And it goes back that you are an experiment right now. You're living in an experiment. The best way to correct the problem is simply to get our visitors out of Area 51. We need to go on back to Montauk and take the cookie off the computer. And the time traveling has been abused. We had people time traveling that tinkered with time. There was some of the time travelers, want to observe and learn. We had other time travelers that disagreed with it and started tinkering with it. And that's what you have now. You have a endless succession of wars. People trying to get rich, from their knowing what the stock market's going to do the next day, people time traveling. And the best way to stop that is to go back and kill the project before it starts, or either keep the project at Area 51 where it can be more readily studied. If it was at Area 51, we wouldn't have this problem right now. I don't believe we would.
Oh wow. Well, how about we discuss some other triggers in the timeline? What are some of the other events that might show up soon? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know, James. You just tell me what. Take a question from the audience if you want to. Let them ask.
Okay. Okay. So, audience members, I don't see too many questions. I see a lot of people commenting. There are a lot of people in denial. They think that we can just go to a positive timeline. I like to think that's the case, but let's see here. And okay, now's the opportunity, people. If you'd like to ask Jimmy a question, if it's a good one, I will put it up. Okay, but yeah. So, all right, let's go down here and see what you got. Well, okay, I'll just read some comments. We've got Mandela effects are real. Yeah, somebody said a gun changed color. We got Alex Collier say nuclear issue has been neutralized on Earth and because interference in other dimensions. Positive timeline for us, according to Alex Collier. All right. So somebody says here, okay, good questions, folks. Ask him. Okay, ask him. Aliens won't allow this to happen. It affect too wide. What do you think? Aliens won't allow this to happen. Jimmy, I think you already answered this, but
the aliens are not going to interfere with anything. It's an experiment. They're observing.
So the Galactic Federation of Worlds will not assist us, is what you're saying, too.
I'm saying that there are many different aliens or visitors that come to Earth from time to time. And just because one group says something doesn't mean that one group rules what the other groups think. Okay. I knew Alex Collier. I've known. I know his aliens. I've been around them. And Andromedans. They're good. They're good people. I've been around the Andromedans before. But we can't mix religion with what we want. Okay, we don't always get what we want in life, and it's been 70 years since there's been a nuclear war. Well, a war, correct? A war, world war, and we just have too many people on Earth.
All right, let's go to the next question. Somebody's asking about Canada. What happens to Canada in this war?
Canada is dead. I mean, it's nothing up there. It's just covered in a radioactive oil. So the Canadian military, they're not going to be able to respond either. In fact, they're probably the first ones that'll die because of the radiological oil.
Wow. Okay, what about this? The Cascadia subduction zone. Will that go off sometime near future?
Where is that at?
I know. I was gonna ask the question. Is that where Los Angeles is gonna fall into the sea? That kind of thing. Eye-wise, or somebody comment on that one? Well, so how about that? Can you comment on? Do you think Los Angeles is gonna fall into the sea?
James, Los Angeles is leveled. I mean, it's nothing but cremated bodies there. I was there with John Teeter, and there was nothing but cremated people. Now, there are some people that regrouped at the observatory, but those people are the ones that were outside the city that came in the city or that may have been in an underground part of the city, but they're just searching for food. Everybody is hungry. Okay. There's no water systems. Municipal water systems are working. No power. Everything is down, and nobody's coming to help. Military cannot respond to this type of disaster. You have a lot of people who are burned. You have a lot of people who are blind from the blast. You have people that their eardrums are burst. They have blood coming out of their ears that they can't hear. Okay.
And so med buds are not made available, and the Dark Fleet doesn't land or anything. Because I know Johann Fritz commented about this in 2032. After all the cataclysms, the Dark Fleet finally lands and provides medical assistance after all the destruction. Do you have any idea on that?
I don't know about that. I've been around Spark on the Enterprise. I knew
Spock.
That's what I said, Spock. It might be let me adjust my microphone here. Yeah, I mean, I knew him, the Vulcan. He's too far out to respond in a timely manner. So forget about Enterprise. Write it off.
Okay, how about from Down Under? Sorry. What happens to Australia? Are they going to be fine down there?
Well, the Chinese are going to get it in for the Australians, so a lot of y'all going to get raped. I can say that. A lot of the males will be raped. The women would be taken, and the ones that they don't want, they just kill.
Wow. Okay, let's see here. Someone's asking, Droney is asking, when is it supposed to happen? He said, what, 3 years from now? Next 3 years?
James, it can happen very soon. We're running up where the two timelines intersect. I would say probably for the next 30 months or so, but I can't give an exact date because I told you when we do the time jumps, we have swelling of our brains. But I can tell you it's very soon from now.
How about Europe? How do they fare in all this?
They don't. Europe's gone. This is worldwide.
So why is it gone? Does it get nuked too?
It's the whole planet is in trouble. Okay, it's everybody starving. It's chaos worldwide. You have to remember, once this oil gets in the stratosphere, it goes all over the world. So what burns in Canada will drop over in Europe and also in China and Russia.
And then what about nuclear power plants? I suppose if there's an EMP, would that cause them also to burn up and explode?
Some of the nuclear power plants are targets for these nuclear weapons. What they want to do is hit these nuclear power plants and bog down the military trying to get these nuclear power plants under control. Look what Chernobyl did, or Fukushima. Just a few power plants just overwhelmed a country.
Wow. Okay. Somebody says Cascadia is East Coast. So I don't know. Is there a tsunami affect the East Coast? Anything in that line?
I do know that some of the nuclear weapons are pointed at the faults, the earthquake faults, like the New Madrid and the Los Angeles, San Francisco fault up in that area. Now, interestingly, in the earthquake of 1811, 1812, when the New Madrid went off, 2/3 of the United States shook. All right. There was church bells as far as New York that rang. and it shook all the way down into South Mississippi. Now, out on the around 1811, 1812, residents of Charleston, South Carolina, they looked out into the ocean and they were seeing flashes of light out in the ocean, the bed of the ocean out there. Now, the guy that discovered the Titanic, uh, he was out there surveying. He found some underwater volcanoes off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina, that were venting some he called them black smokers, but basically superheated water from deep within the earth. So that's probably, like I said, it's some ancient volcanoes off the coast of the eastern United States. If those things erupt, they can cause a lot of problems, tidal waves, stuff like that. Now, Al Bielek, when he did the time jump, most of the United States was submerged. Where I'm at is submerged underwater.
Andrew Basagia mentioned that too. They went to Washington, D.C. in the future, and it was under 150 feet of water. So how is that possible?
Well, Washington is swampland anyway. A lot of places where you see people at now, they weren't there, and with levees being built and pumps and everything, it can go back. It'll return back to what it was, James. You have to remember, if the ice caps go to melting, you have a rise in seawater as well.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and make a few more questions and we'll wrap this up. So Connor would like to know what happens to their cryptocurrency in the event of an EMP and nuclear war.
You have to have electricity to have cryptocurrency, so there won't be no cryptocurrency.
All right. So AM Ghost, there you go. That answers your question. We've got here, tell us the timeline that Al Bielek said nuclear devices detonated in Western region. Do you know this? 2532?
It was somewhere around before then. He was doing some jumps after the blast. So you have to remember, I've probably done 100 or more time jumps, probably 150. I don't know. I've done a lot of time jumps. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then you have Al doing time jumps, and you have all these different people doing time jumps, and so no records. The records that were kept were sealed up, and some of them was brought down to Robinson Air Force Base. Other records went to Canada, and I don't know where the rest went to.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, all right. Are you familiar with a group called Time Corp? Time Corp. They work with a group. No. Yes. Yeah. Jimmy.
Go ahead now. One more.
Time Corp. Are you familiar with Time Corp?
No, I'm not. Tell me about it briefly.
In the TV show Fringe, there's a group of archangel type ETs called the Observers, and that was based on. Apparently those things are real, and what their job is to reset the timeline. So if there's a nuclear war or disaster or cataclysm, they'll come and reset it all and send people back in time, like star seeds, to come back and incarnate and to try to change the timeline. So every time it failed, they would come back and reset it. So they can basically reset timelines over and over and over again until everybody gets it right. And that's why there's like so many people have come incarnated on planet Earth at this time, who are star seeds and crystals and whatever you want to call them. But indigos. So the whole goal is for us to change the time. So are you familiar with any of this?
I've now that you're saying some things about it, I want to say this: each individual everyone has a spirituality, okay, and some people believe that ET is going to save them. I want to say this: you can believe whatever you want to believe, but I'm basing this on what I observed over my experiences, and I can't say for what what the other person here is inquiring about. I can only talk about what I experienced doing the time jumps and being on the Eldritch and teleporting, all that. Okay, and I am a spiritual person, but I keep my spiritualness to myself. I don't try to manipulate my environment for my religion, is what I'm saying.
So, okay, thank you, Jimmy. Can you comment on, do the ETs finally make first contact with humanity, like show themselves and the government's not covering it up anymore, kind of thing? Does that eventually happen?
James, they're already here. But
I know, but so it's like matter of fact, everybody knows, oh yeah, there's aliens, and by the way, they're over there. You can go meet with them. Or
no, that's not going to happen. They know the timeline's been tampered with. They're here only to do one thing, is to observe. Now, I do believe this. When the ET gave humans the ability to time travel, I believe it's an intelligence test. And what I believe that they're waiting to see, are we going to blow ourselves up, or is somebody going to step forward and correct the problem? So I believe the intelligence test would be if I went back to Nellis Air Force Base or Creech or whatever and talked with them. I believe that would be enough to trigger it, to get one of them down there to take the cookie off the computers at Montauk. Now, I believe that. But we're not ready to time jump because we tinker with time too much. That was a fatal flaw that happened at Montauk, was to tinker with the time. And people that did that, some of them got very rich, and it caused a big problem between the men in black. You have some men in black that didn't want to do that, and some that did. And I fell into that group that didn't want to tinker with time, just observe it.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's go on. We got a few more questions. We have to wrap this up. Okay. Let's see here. I asked Jimmy this question earlier, and I think your answer was there's no place, none, because
Nope.
fall
No,
out.
no place.
Right.
There's no place. I don't like telling people that because.
Well, how about a safer place?
Well, James, it all goes back. There's no food. Okay, there's no food, and you have a lot of fighting going on around. You have cannibalism going around. Okay, it's not the end of the world. So there'll be some of y'all that will live, but a good many of you won't live.
All right, next question. Will the New York City be swamped in the future, or a tsunami?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so what does it look like after this period of time, post-apocalyptic period? Is say the World Trade, whatever, the new World Trade Center still standing, or is everything just leveled?
Everything's leveled. It's a hell on earth. It's like nothing. I mean, I don't even think there's been anything in the movies that can compare it to. It's gone. It's gone, people. It's not there anymore. Your country is gone.
Okay, so Iron Bear is asking this question. The man from the High Castle, is that real? I'm going to answer it, and maybe Jimmy, if you want to answer it, you can too. But let me answer it first. Okay. So there is a timeline where the Germans took over America, and also the Japanese Empire took over the west coast of America, because the eastern coast was the American Reich. It was controlled by ARN, the Aryan Nazi Reich party, in which apparently Mr. T is very high up in, but in that alternate reality. But in order for the Germans to have a win, total win, it would have mean they would have had to embrace the Jews. So in that alternate reality, the Nordics were not having sex with the high-level SS, because it was the Nordics who gave that racial instructions to the Germans to incorporate that into their philosophy. So in this other reality, they didn't do that. So the Nazis embraced the Jews, gave them put their money into their banks, and they took over mostly over the world. So the answer is they didn't had to use nukes to take over U.S. Washington, D.C. still exists, but is instead of a Washington Monument, there's a spinning 150-foot tall spinning Nazi eagle spinning around, and the national language is German. And if you speak English in public, you get electric shocked by cattle prod by the police, because they're instructed to do that if you speak English. Also, you're not allowed to have any affection in public, and you're not allowed to have any interracial marriage. But they released all the free energy technologies, and Tesla was given an unlimited budget. So basically, everybody lives in mansions, provided you're not into interracial marriage, and then you live in the camps. And I don't know what the camps necessarily are like, but I don't think they're too pleasant in that reality. But yeah, that's the man from the High Castle. Okay, Jimmy, you want to comment about that alternate reality? What's the Nazis took over the United States, America?
Well, first off, the Civil War was tinkered with, and that affected World War II. Now, World War II, the United States stayed neutral. They never fought Germany. Okay. Now, what happened was, a lot of y'all, you hear talk about the Queen of England and the royal family being reptilian. Now, that is very true. I have been around the Queen, and she is reptilian. She can shapeshift. Now, Hitler was trying to go after the royal family, but what happened was, these British infiltrated the Montauk Boys, and they helped tinkered around there where United States wasn't neutral, and the United States went to war. But the Queen of England is reptilian, and so that is an alternative timeline that I'm more familiar with. Can there be alternative timelines? You bet. I've gone back and seen apes, talking apes, during the Planet of the Apes. So there is alternative timelines. They're very real. Now, the timeline that I come from, the sun goes down. The sun comes up in the southeast, and it goes down into the southwest. That's my timeline. So my timeline's a little different from your timeline. That's why I use the alias Jimmy Paine. And I'm not trying to interfere with your timeline. I'm just trying to repair the damage to it, and set things back where you don't have a nuclear war. But your government is not going to survive. So it's over. It's over for the United States.
Wow. Well, here's a really good. I said we're going to come to the. Okay, all right. 2 more questions, and then we're going to end this. Okay, folks, I have to go soon. All right, so Jose is asking about Mexico. Will Mexico be erased too after this war?
Mexico, and I knew President Fox. Now, President Fox, I have seen him shapeshift. And I do know that the monuments down there where there were sacrifices, the sacrifices are still going on, but it's late at night. There's secret societies down there. Mexico doesn't come out very well on top of this. They starved like everybody else. This is a worldwide event. Okay, it's a great reset. That's the reason they say it, the Great Reset. They no longer need you guys down there. They have robots that's going to take your places. Okay, so go ahead.
All right, last question. So Pixie's asking, I guess, what are the names of the 5 super states? Do you happen to know that, Jimmy?
No, the one that I was in was down towards Florida with John. You know, it's the only way you can get from one state to the next state. Either you walk or you go on horseback. It's not like you have a road map. It's fractured along river lines, and it doesn't look anything like it does now. In fact, it's known as the United Americas, not as the United States.
All right, hold on a second. I was trying to get this picture to show up. I've had him. I had you on here before, and
I've seen some crude pictures on the internet.
This was from Alex, I think. Alex claimed he was part of the same Temple Recon division as John Titor and that they were friends and so on. But supposedly but you know, this was okay. So the Civil War was supposed to take place like in the early 2000s, and then kind of just played itself out. That's why he says circa 2020. So that timeline didn't happen. But the 5 provinces are or states, I guess, states would have been they're named after farmer military generals that were able to defeat the New World Order. So you have Washington, Foley, Franklin, Jefferson, and Carlisle, and the capital is supposedly New Omaha. And I guess, but you know, and I see Mexico has been dissolved, and I don't know why Alaska got according to Daryl James, he says in the future. He doesn't say all your stuff that's happening, Jimmy, but he does say the Russians take back Alaska. So Alaska is going, and they're going to have to start learning how to speak Russian over in Alaska if you live there. But
well, the 5 super states look similar to that. The lines are a little different, and they're named after college towns like Fort. You know, like you have a college, like. You know, it's named after the colleges are called forts, and because the colleges is where you have all the information at, the libraries and such. There's no internet, okay? So everybody goes back to the libraries or to their colleges, and they start over from there. The names don't look familiar to me. But now I do think that Omaha, there is, you know, people in Omaha, they regroup, but it's not the center of anything. The 5 super states are just that. Each state is independent of the other state. So it's not like the United States, it's just United America.
Yeah, I think Canada doesn't I get what's left of Canada?
Well, you know, when it comes to Mexico, I kind of see Mexico moving more to the west, coming up a little further north to the west there. But Mexico is they're fractured up as well. It goes back to the rivers and everything. The rivers are the dividing lines, the boundary lines. There's no bridges up, James, where, you know, other words, if the line, so say the Mississippi River, how the river zigzags left and right, when it comes down the center of the United States.
Right. But eventually doesn't that become a huge separation when the New Madrid Fault goes?
Well, parts of Mississippi and Arkansas and Louisiana is underwater. A lot of it, the Tennessee Valley Dam, when they built up in Kentucky and Tennessee, they did a lot of damming back in the 40s and 50s. Well, they've been doing it since the 30s, but a lot of those dams burst, and a lot of that water goes south. Now, Mexico, because of the melting of ice cap, a lot of Mexico's underwater.
And Florida too.
Yeah, Florida is that the part that the leg that sticks out is no longer there. The peninsula there.
So it's basically just like the really center part of Florida, where I think that the altitude there is about 200 foot tall.
Yeah,
so
it just kind of, the part that you see protruding out is underwater there. So
what happens to all those people in like Miami or Tampa, all those coastal cities? Are they going to just like, well, I guess my house floated away.
They're not
where am I
going
going to go? Where do they go? They just starve to death, I guess.
They starve to death. A lot of them are killed in the war, James. It's kind of, we're looking at a map here that's not exactly all the way correct. It is 5 super states. The names of them are not that. Okay. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, anything last you want to share, because we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Well, I would encourage all of y'all to be spiritual, and then prepare for the dollar to collapse. There'll be no electricity to get on the internet, and there'll be no phones. I mean, it's not the end of the world, people. I mean, people survive it. A good many don't, and what'll happen is you'll get up at sunrise and you go into the field and you work from sun up to sundown 7 days a week. There's no air conditioners. There's no medicine. It's a very primitive, it's kind of like a Mad Max world, It's brutal, but people survive. And maybe, hopefully, somebody, an intelligence officer with the military is listening. You need to tell your intelligence officer that if they want to make contact with me, they can make contact with James Rink. James Rink will let me know, and I'll meet privately with the military officers at Nellis Air Force Base, but it'd be done in private.
All right, so go to the description section of this. I guess be this link wherever this is going to post. I'm probably going to post this over to Rumble as well. So check the description. There's a link, or an email address in there. You can send me a message if you want. You can also go to my website. I have a contact form on there too if you want to deal with all that. It's a little bit easier. supersoldiertalk.com is my website. Another website you could go to, which I'll be absolutely thrilled if you go to, is Neological Tech. You get a copy of my book on there. It's called Lone Wolf, and get yourself a meditation cube to help you relax. So let's see here. Be sure to like and subscribe. I guess I still have this channel, amazingly. They're allowing me to still broadcast here, so I'm gonna use it as much as I can, as long as I can. So thank you all for listening in. Thank you, audience members, for your great questions and input. Thank you, Jimmy Paine, for coming on here today and sharing again. So let's all I'll see you later. I think yeah, I've got some more. Definitely got a lot more content coming up. I just got back from Sedona, Arizona, and I got like 4 interviews I'm going to get posted on the channel soon. So stay tuned for all that. And may you all have a wonderful day wherever you are. So Jimmy, just go ahead and stay on here with me, okay? We're going to go ahead and hit the conclusion. See you all. Bye-bye. Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.